This
Well,
conference will now be recorded.
okay, I'll jump in now. I'll call this meeting to order since it's 6 o'clock, and welcome everyone. Um, we'll do our land acknowledgement now. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional Terries. So we know how the meeting's going to go as far as my pronunciations. The Township of Southgate is part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabeg, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Do we have anyone for open forum, Lindsay?
No, Mayor Woodbury, no one signed up for tonight.
Okay, and I don't see any members of the public extra here, so we'll move on with confirmation of the agenda. Moved by Barbara and seconded by Jim. And is that as amended, Lindsay, or is that just straightforward? As amended. Okay.
Yeah,
Any discussion? Is anyone opposed to that motion? Okay, that is carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest can declare now or at any time, and can send the proper paperwork to Lindsay. Not seeing any at this moment. We'll move along. We have a delegation it's moved by Michael and seconded by Brian that we received this for information. It's Jonathan Pevkovic and Jamie Bates. I hope I pronounced your name right. And welcome. And I'll turn the delegation over to you two. So if you'd like to go ahead.
Good evening. How you guys doing?
Good so far.
We just wanted to bring to your guys' attention hoping you guys would consider opting into cannabis retail in Southgate. One of our main reasons we would like to bring it in there is obviously bring some full-time jobs to Southgate, bump up the downtown core, have another business down there. We'd redo the whole front of our area.
Yeah, the big thing is we own a store right now out of, well, we own a few stores, but our big thing is we're local to Shelburne is where we're from. We try to go over the rural areas as opposed to, kind of the city corporate style. So that being said, every location we came into, we were kind of on the downtown core. We come in, we redo the whole storefront. We normally hire about on average, six employees per store for full-time work. Obviously, normally within the area, especially Dundalk, they got to be from Dundalk with winter conditions and whatnot. So we always bring employment there. But the biggest thing is that, we've noticed in the last week and a half, 2 weeks is, as of May 5th, the AGCO, the governing body for us, basically allowed us to do deliveries. So now on average, about 2-3 times a day, we're getting requests for deliveries into Dundalk area, whether they come out of Shelburne or Markdale. So essentially we're still serving the area, just not with a retail storefront. So our ideal plan would be to get a storefront location, have those full-time employees there, and be able to service Dundalk from Dundalk. Of course, as of right now, people have to pay a premium for delivery to either come from Markdale or Shelburne, and we'd like to get around that. And then the demand definitely seems there, and that's why we're trying to make that business decision on our end as well. So with that being said, a little bit about us as a store. It's called Cannabis Stop Inc. We have one right now, Arthur, Markdale, Grand Valley, and Shelburne. Each store, once again, employs roughly about 6 people. We're open 7 days a week. So it's, once again, it's on average, depending on the towns, probably Dundalk, our average hours would be probably 10 till 6 p.m., maybe 10 till 8, depending on, we know Dundalk is growing, more people traveling to and from, outside of Dundalk. So of course hours would vary based on demand. But once again, the big thing for us is to get a storefront that is nice looking, as we've done some research downtown Dundalk, there's definitely some room to grow on the aesthetic side of the storefronts. So just like when, we did our store in Shelburne, everybody followed suit. So, it's also spruces up the downtown core and brings more more business to other businesses as well. For instance, in Markdale, we have a pizza store about 4 doors up from us. They love it. The amount of extra customers we brought in there, it's extra traffic at the end of the day. So we'd like to capitalize on that and be able to say we have a location in Dundalk.
I'd also like to add in there, by opting into cannabis retail, it gives someone a safe place to come and purchase cannabis and will slowly eliminate all the illegal cannabis trafficking within Dundalk. Because at the end of the day, illegal trafficking is going to happen regardless. But once we're open, it'll give people that understanding and the knowledge to come and purchase from someone who knows what they're talking about, and they know they're getting safe product from the government. And then slowly all these little drug dealers and the bigger ones will just kind of evaporate because there'll be nowhere else for them to sell it to, right? And
yeah, so you block out the black market, which obviously is ideal. Why the AGCO and the OCS have teamed up together to make this, just like the LCBO or the beer store. So once again, it like Jonathan's saying, it does cut down on the black market side. But also the big thing is a lot of people, don't understand until they come into a store. Our biggest thing is educating people, explaining to them, it's not just THC products, it's CBD, there's CBN, CBG. There's a lot of different, the research and development that's going into that side of the industry is, it's remarkable. I would say probably every quarter we have new products being dropped that are, we can't say legally they're there to help pain, but we have multiple reoccurring clients that come in and couldn't do without it. So, and a lot of them don't. For instance, Shelburne, we're very close to a retirement home. The amount of CBD cream we sell for joints, pain, muscle is astronomical. We actually in Dufferin County, our Shelburne store sells more than any other store within Dufferin County. So. Just goes to show that it is needed. So, I think maybe we'll turn it over to you if you guys have any questions for us. We'd be happy to answer anything we can.
Great, thank you, and thanks for coming in. And what was the name of your store?
So it's called Cannabis Stop Inc. And our first store was in Shelburne, which opened just over a year ago.
Okay, great. Thank you. Questions from council or comments? Martin, and then Brian. You're not coming through, Martin. Although I do know exactly what throwing your hands up in the air means, because we've all done that with this. I'm gonna let you're still not coming through. I'm gonna let Brian go first, and then if we can get
Let Brian.
yours.
Yeah.
Nope, I got you now. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Martin.
Crazy. Jonathan, Jamie, you said you own 4 shops?
Correct.
Or okay. I know for a fact, maybe a month ago, there was a company like you two, they sold through a bigger corporate chain. Do you have some kind of vision statement or mandate of what your business plan is? Would you be selling it to somebody else in the future, or are you keeping it local?
No,
you see where I'm going? Because if you sell it to somebody else bigger, they might not have your vision statement with all the CPD products and all that. They might just want to come in and say, hey, this is a shop, whatever. So what's your game plan strategy for that? Because anybody can open 4 shops. What's your business plan overall? Because
Yep. So the big thing with us, once again, going back to educating people. So in, for instance, Shelburne, we do have another major corporation there, one of the bigger ones in Ontario. To straightforward to the point, it's educating people, building that relationship with the customer on the front end. On the back end, no, we do not plan to sell. We have some of the highest numbers for private stores that the OCS provides to us. We have no plans in the future to sell, and the big thing is it's not just we're a family-based company. So Jonathan here's sister runs a store, and his sister-in-law runs another store for us. So we're very family-based and hands-on. And once again, the reason why we choose to come into these rural areas is because all the bigger guys went to the city. They chose population to try to drive, obviously, more profit. Our big thing was when we opened these stores is we wanted to attack the rural areas, as we were the first in Shelburne, first in Grand Valley, first in Arthur, and first in Markdale as well. So in Markdale, for example, we had a corporate store come in. It's called Canna Cabana. They're an American-owned store.
Yeah.
They shop the prices through the roof. They don't offer certain products. So that being said, quality control is all done through me and John. We pick our products every order, as opposed to a corporate head office picking it. So no, we don't plan to sell. We plan to grow the business you're not the first town council we spoke to, and definitely won't be the last. We have 3 other applications in right now that we hope we will get approval for. And we do plan to grow. A lot of people in the industry don't like that corporate side. They want to support small business. And once again, the biggest thing comes back to educating the consumer on the right product. And that's what we try to dominate.
Okay, well, thanks. May I have a follow-up, John, with that?
Sure.
With that being said, you mentioned you're selling a lot of the bombs and the oils with the, you're not just selling the product.
Correct.
What percentage of that would be your stock? Because if you come into rural areas, you're going to be having a lot of hardworking people, farmers, elderly people. They're going to be, I know for a fact, a lot of them use that ointments, and they might not smoke, but they certainly use the products and what have you. What's your business strategy there as far as selling the smoke as far as product that you can use topically if you're elderly?
So every store is different based on population and consumer demands. We'll use Shelburne or even Markdale as an example, as that's probably more realistic. So when we first opened the store, we kind of go on a motto of 50% flour, about 10% everything else. Now over the last year, we've seen that change dramatically, where it's about 30% flour, and then you kind of leave yourself about 15% in every market. So the biggest thing is a lot of people come into the store, they don't know, once again, about CBD, CBN, CBG. So once you educate those people and they become a regular consumer or a regular buyer, then those products, once again, we know they're selling and they're always in stock. So ideally, when we open a store, we know Dundalk, rural area, we try to base that off the orders. Let's just say that we're getting through Shelburne and Markdale. For instance, I think 50% of those orders right now have been pre-rolls, and 25% have been topicals, and the rest has been flour. So, say we have let's just say throw a date out there, September 1st, everything moves forward, we're allowed to open. We would base our orders based on the delivery demand that's there. So if we're selling 90% topicals, we're going to bring in probably 75% of our stores going to be based on topicals, creams, things like that.
If I could also add to that, as our store, since we're like locally owned and operated, we do our orders weekly as opposed to the corporate guys. They do monthly orders. So we fulfill, if customers have requests, they need something, they tell us personally, already our employees, we can try to bring it into them the next week, or the next day we can transfer from a different location as well. So we really have a passion. We care about the customers.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. On a lighter note, I found it funny that you said the one shop with a pizza place next door the pizza place is booming. Munchies, man, I guess it comes into play here. It's a circular economy with you guys. So anyway, thanks for the info. Appreciate
Not a
it.
problem at all.
Okay. Brian.
Thanks, John. You guys mentioned, or one of you fellas mentioned the reduction or the elimination of the black market. That's very commendable. But I'm wondering if you can provide any empirical evidence that that actually happens. Like, who could we talk to, and where would I get stats on if that actually happens, and the impact?
Yep. So actually, the Ontario Cannabis Supply, the OCS, who's our only supplier, they have done I mean, if we can get your email, we can definitely email that information over to you.
In the presentation I sent you, actually, it said what the OPP seized illegally in 2020. I don't have 2022 numbers yet. I can get 2020 numbers and email them to you directly. But I did send it in the presentation through the delegation what their total seizure was, and it has been coming down significantly yearly.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I saw that in the report, but it speaks to, I presume their numbers are province-wide. Yes, it does say that, province-wide. I'm wondering locally what the impact is in shutting down the illegal traffickers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have. So the issue there is, because it's a criminal charge, the OCS can only, until the case is rested, the OCS can't access that information for comparables because it's a criminal case.
Perhaps we could, perhaps our local police services board might have some more insight into that. So anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Barb, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury, and good evening, everyone, and welcome, gentlemen. To expand on these statistics, and perhaps our local police services board may be able to ask that question at their next meeting, or with regard to policing, by opting out, obviously we did not benefit from the additional financial contribution from the province to assist with local law enforcement. To your experience, have you ever been broken into? Has there been a reduction in your local perspective, an increase in police presence requirement? Because that comes at a cost. We're in the southernmost gateway of Grey, and it takes a while for the police to physically be in the area, which is expected.
So in response to that, we haven't had any issues. There's been minimal stores that have been broken into in the Niagara region as well as downtown Toronto, as well as a few armed robberies across the province over the last 2 years. None have been in our area. It's all the Gatineau, Niagara, and GTA, like downtown area. That being said, every store, so when you walk into it, I'm not too sure if anybody's been to a cannabis store. When you walk in, 360-degree angle of the store has to be covered. So every section of the store has to be covered on point. Every store is armed through ADT secure. So every bud tender has basically it's a silent alarm, emergency alarm that they can carry either in the till, in their pocket. So in case of an event, we are always, ready. Like as you've explained, there's no OPP close by. At that point, they're probably coming from Shelburne or Markdale. The only time that, so I'll back that up. So with the ADT stores, ADT in the stores, so we have shock sensors, vibration sensors, we have obviously motion sensors. So when the stores are closed at night, they are extremely armed, but that's not going to stop somebody from breaking through the window. But if that window does get broken or the door gets broken, or if they feel that, if it's a 2-story building and there's an apartment above, somebody starts cutting through the floor into the safe, the alarm will go off. That being said, every store that is built under the AGCO regulations has to have a safe. So all of our safes are fireproof with steel doors. In the event that there is somebody who breaks in, ideally that's going to slow them down or stop them. But across the province in the in the last 2 years since the October 17th lottery. There's been 6 break-ins, armed robberies, or incidents where the police have been involved where there's a criminal offense. So, which is pretty good considering there's more cannabis stores now across the province than there is LCBOs. There's about 1,348 cannabis stores in the province right now, and there's, I think, right now there's 122 licenses issued to open in the next month. So, lots of stores popping up.
Thank you. Just to follow up, if this were to be a council decision, then you should be aware that there is a bylaw for false alarms.
Correct.
Just
Yes.
you know.
Yes, we have learned that, unfortunately. Yes, we are aware of that, and also ADT will charge us as well. I'm assuming that probably falls under the same $600 or so ticket.
Well, it's about half that almost. You get a deal in Southgate, I guess.
I'm just going to interrupt now for a second. I've come into an emergency at home, so I'll be leaving the meeting and be turning this over to Brian. I guess you'll need a different seconder for the motion. Guys, thanks for coming out and explaining your things, and oops, I really appreciate it.
Good luck, John.
Gonna run.
Take
Thanks.
care, John.
Nice meeting you.
I would second it then,
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Any further questions? Thank you. Any further discussion or questions from councils? Jason, go ahead.
Just to you guys, I'm just wondering the protocol. It's probably what I think, but what am I trying to say? The age of majority, like to buy these products. We all know. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, we all know that young kids have got cigarettes or have got into the local LCBO and got served. What kind of steps do you take to prevent that? And I guess it is 18, is it? I'm not even sure.
No, it's actually 19. So one thing, going back to the cameras in the store, so every entrance that comes into the store, there has to be a camera on there. So where that camera points, we have an ID checkpoint. So there's always an employee sitting there, so nobody can just walk into the store and walk in. As soon as they walk in the store, we have a wall, so you can't see into the store, which is AGCO regulation, and they're stopped before they get around the corner. So even if a 16 or underager walks in, they can't see any cannabis related product until they get around that corner after they've been checkpoint or ID'd at the checkpoint. And also under our regulation from the AGCO, the stores so we have to provide 90 days film at any request. At any time they can go in and see that. And if we do let someone through, we will lose our license, not just for one store, but all 4 stores. And the AGCO also sends what they're called as secret shoppers. So we don't know who they are when they're coming, what store they're going to. They send somebody who's they're legal, but they look underage. And basically right now we've had 7 of those and we've passed every single one. So what that is a test on the, are you checking IDs? Are you doing the due diligence to make sure that you're not having underagers? They're not coming with fake IDs. Is their ID from, Alberta? Is it one of the ones you get downtown Toronto that are a printed one with a fake picture? Or is it an actual legit ID? So that's a position there. So if they're at the door checking for IDs, they'll have a book in front of them that shows every single province ID and what to look for. So it's, we haven't had anybody yet. Out of anything that we're trying to watch, that is the number one thing, underage people in the store, because at that point, nothing else matters. What I will say though, is majority of the clientele who comes in is probably, depending on the store and location, 40 or older. So a lot of the younger generation still has, I guess you could say, those connections to the black industry, the black market, where, they still maybe feel that that's the right decision.
Hey, Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, just one last question. Following up on Jason's comment about age of majority and what have you. You said you sell flowers and the buds, and then you're doing the medicinal. like the bombs and oils. Are you selling edibles?
Yep. So we
Because
sell,
you are within the parameters of 2 public schools. So I think you keep the edibles back behind too, right? Because
yeah. So
a lot
nothing.
of problems in the States, they had packaging that looked cute where the kids were picking them up. And there's a lot less legislation down in the States. Would the edibles still be behind bars, as they say?
So the States does their legal. Yeah, that's a very in-depth conversation. So each state presents their differently. So in Ontario, nothing can be at arm's reach that you can grab that and turn around and walk out the door. So when someone walks into the store, they basically have to put their order in like you're going to a chip truck. Then the bud tender goes into the back, gets your product from the safe, and then comes back out to you and puts the transaction through at that point. Now, there has been a lot of issues with edibles even through Ontario, but a lot of them aren't the legalized edibles. What they are is they're the edibles, and even actually up in the Dundalk area, even last year there was a big bust in Shelburne. It's the edibles that are coming from the reserves or the black market that are, what they're doing is they're taking all the candy companies and knocking them off. So they're doing, they're called Stoner Patch Kids instead of Sour Patch Kids and using the same branding. So none of that is basically what the AGCO has regulated for us. Is it's very simple standard branding. There's nothing can be associated with any cartoon characters or any public figure. You're not even allowed to have an endorsement from a celebrity in Ontario or Canada. So
Okay.
As far as, can we control it? If some, an adult comes in and buys it and ends up in a kid's possession, it just like cigarettes and alcohol. Obviously, your own due diligence is a big part of that. But as far as them purchasing it from the store, it's impossible.
Okay,
I like
great.
that as well.
Thank
So
you.
Our producer, the OCS, when we get the edibles from them, it's extremely hard to open them up. They have a safety seal on it. Even for most adults, it's very hard to get into. So for actual children to get into it, it's extremely hard, unless their parents left it open, right? But to actually open it itself, it's extremely hard.
And to farther elaborate on that, it's, if you get a Tylenol bottle where it's got the child lock and you push it down, any single cannabis container that comes in a hard plastic jar has that safety setting. So, you can't just grab it and open it. It does need to be, it's not child proof. It is going to help. But once again, due diligence is within the user and the parent to make sure it doesn't end up there.
Very good. Well, we've had a pretty good discussion here. Are there any further questions? Barb, go ahead.
So more of procedural to the clerk and perhaps to our CAO. We're receiving this for information. No action would be taken otherwise. Is it advisable maybe this is a question for the CAO as I'm working through this in my head. Should we be asking for a report back about, I'm not even sure. Would we have this conversation, about whether it would even fall with outside of the parameters of the schools?
So if we could,
I'm going to ask Dave if maybe he would respond to that, please.
And
I'll get unmuted here. Thank you. I think the best thing to do would be if the proponents of the project would be acceptable to send us a letter with the request. I think it would be appropriate if you've identified a location that we understand that location that you're looking at. Maybe you haven't yet, but because there's some issues related to planning and so on and siting, but I think if you're downtown, you should be fine. So put that request forward. We can take that request and put it in the form of a report to council and council can make a decision on that issue. Is that
Okay.
what you're looking
So-
for?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Milne,
Go ahead.
so Dave is receiving it for information, and then if the proponents want to, the proprietors want to send that letter in, that would start the cycle, or would you want direction?
No, I think that would start the cycle based on this discussion tonight.
Right.
I think there's enough direction. They can ask us through this letter to, have council consider it. So that would be advancing it. Plus, I'd want the planner to, provide his input on it and discussions in relation to, the past decision and past policies in relation to zoning and permitting and so on, and the
Exactly.
meeting the legislation and making sure we're doing the right thing in the right place at the right time.
And maybe the building department, based on the locations that they have in mind.
Yeah, that
All
would
right,
kind of
well,
that would come secondary, but it's
Yeah,
all part of
thank
the
you.
process. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Milne, and thank you, Dave. That answers my question, and
Very good.
so I didn't need anything else.
Okay, thank you. John, did you want to say something there? Wrap this
Yes.
up.
So one thing I'd just like to add. So when we submit our application, the AGCO does do, boundaries, guidelines within each individual municipality. So one thing that's a standard is we have to be 150 meters away from any school. So just to throw that out there, so you guys are aware that it would not be within that distance of the school.
Yep.
All right.
And
Well,
John
Go ahead, Dave.
and John and Jamie, if you just want to send the letter to either myself or the clerk or both of us, that will get the ball rolling if you so want to proceed.
Definitely. We will have that prepared by tomorrow and have that sent off to you guys, and we will go from there. We do
Excellent.
appreciate your guys' time tonight, and appreciate you listening to what we have to say.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation, gentlemen, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. For the rest of your meeting, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have the motion on the floor to receive the report. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No one is opposed, so that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along, we have the minutes from the May 4th meeting. I apologize for my back and forth here a few minutes ago. I was trying to run an agenda through the printer, and I have the list of the movers and seconders here, Lindsay, so I'll try to update them as we go with substituting some names. Anyway, moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Shipston, that we adopt the minutes of the May 4th council meeting as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Seeing no opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you. Moving on to reports of municipal officers, we have Chief Building Official Bev Fisher, his Building Department Administrative Position Approval Report. I have that here moved by Councillor Frew and Councillor Shearson. Bev, there you are. Welcome. You may proceed, please, sir.
Okay, so I think it pretty well says it in the report, but I'll just recap. During the last few months, we have noticed a extreme backlog in back work that needs to be caught up on in order to run a more efficient department. So I've made the request that we be able to hire a administration assistant. I believe with the way the town is going, or the township is going, the requirement will continue into the future. And I'll answer questions.
Very good. Thank you, Bev. Are there any questions from council? Go ahead, Jason.
I understand there's no financial implication with this, but I'm just wondering, Bev, we've had a couple of conversations. I hope if we go ahead with this, we're gonna get callbacks right away. Is that something we're looking into more, or just a question?
Bev?
through Mr. Milne, Councillor Milne, Deputy Mayor Milne, sorry. It depends what you mean by callbacks. The building department should run a little bit more efficient. Yes, we should be able to return calls, but right away, I can't guarantee. It's amazing how certain times, early mornings are always busy. Lunch seems to be busy. The phone never seems to stop during those times. And then at close to 4 o'clock. So, but yes, we should be able to return calls within the day or two much faster.
Thank you, Bev. Any further questions, discussion? Not seeing any, I will call the question. Oh, Martin, go ahead. And then Barb. You are muted, sir. And we still can't hear you. At least I can't. I don't know if anybody else can hear him. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. There we go. Yep, you're on now.
Okay, sorry. Bev, with the financial implications, it's coming from the building reserve. Is this position going to be from the building reserve in 2023, or is it going to be a budget item for 2023?
This time I would foresee it go.
Sorry, Bev, you're breaking up pretty bad there, Bev. Maybe
the building department seems to be putting money into the reserve every year, so I would move that. Probably it will end up as I will try to repeat myself. Is that better? I've shut off my camera.
Yeah, I noticed
I've
that. No, you're coming through good now.
Today, and my internet service is not too. Yeah, okay. So I believe that the reserve or our budget, our reserve is always building every year. We've seemed to, with the growth going on, we seem to have a good turnout of building permits. So I believe it will go into the budget for 2023 and not come out of the reserve. It's just I did not budget it for this year. My foresight was not that great, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Barb, you go ahead.
Thank you.
I guess you need to polish up that crystal ball, Bev. And I mean that in the nicest way. I understand that it is a building department expense. Where are you physically going to put this person? Is there room?
Through the deputy mayor, tongue in cheek, I'm going to take down the wall that you politely built to give us a staff room and take over the whole old council chambers. But no, I've thought about bunk desks. I've thought about a lot of things. So we will find a spot. We'll definitely find an area for this person to have an area to call their home and to work.
Because we do need to have a meeting space there for a number of departments. And I can, if the building department keeps growing, then the building department would pay for the expansion of the administrative office. Just kidding. But again, any furniture, any expenses is still part of the building department and not a taxable or a taxation item. So thank you very much, and I can appreciate how busy with all of the growth and all of the permits that's happening throughout Southgate, not just in Dundalk. So thank you very much.
Any further questions or discussion?
Hey, Brian. Michael here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm just kind of wondering if we could just make this a contract position just in case things go south, like bring them on for a year and just see where it goes from there before we actually hire a full-time person.
Good question. Thoughts on that, Bev?
We did think about a contract. Contracts attract different applicants. And I can't say my crystal ball isn't working the greatest, but again, we have the job, the employment for them, the work for them right now. I hate to sound callous, but I don't believe it's our requirement that we make sure we won't be laying somebody off. We do have work for them, and I foresee more work for them. And I'm looking to get the best applicant for the position.
Fair enough. Dave, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I guess my comments would be, I wouldn't be putting my name to this if we were going to hire somebody and maybe lay them off in 2 or 3 years. This position, we're looking at a few things. One may be extending hours of the admin, building administration to have longer hours for building access. And the other thing that would then translate to maybe 4-day work weeks. The one thing that we're lacking on is, and it's been something in the building industry that has always been a problem, is finals. People do a big cheer and put the pom-poms out when they get their occupancy permit, and they forget to call back and get finals. So we're going to be, part of this position would be to chase down those finals and make sure they get done, and either recover the money that was put in deposit or return the money. And there's a lot of work there to be done. There's filing in that, during the COVID time that we're behind on. So we'd go through the 2021 files and catch up on the finals that haven't been completed, get the filing done, and just keep going back progressively in years. But and the other thing we have to do is we have to transition to a more of an electronic system to store our files, and that would be part of it as well, that we're able to do our inspections electronically and upload them to a system, and then that would ultimately upload it to Impact and get the process going for taxation. But those are there's a lot of work there, and I think if we're really going to be delivering the service based on the income we have, we'll still likely have a surplus after we hire this person. I know we will. And I think the other thing, it will give lunch coverage for the department, so the phone can get answered and not be, have to maybe have someone come in and cover, such as a building inspector. Keep the building inspectors out there inspecting rather than covering phones in the single administrative assistant's absence, so for vacation or whatever. So that's kind of the justification why we've made this request, because there's a lot of work there that needs to get done, and we need to advance the department to modernize and become more efficient as we grow.
Thanks, Dave. Martin, did you have something you wanted to add there? Or were you flicking a fly? If you unmuted first, I could understand a little better.
Jeez. Sorry about that. Dave,
Nope.
You just mentioned getting into digital. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I apologize again. You mentioned, Dave, that things are going digital, and Bev's mentioned that it's been going on for a long time with updates from the OMA. Is there money there for the building department that we can get to for grants to further along the digital end of it, to supplement this
Now you're
position?
there. We go.
We do have modernization funding that we're looking at,
Okay.
but we're going to use that to replace tax dollars. Rather than invest tax dollars, we're going to use modernization funding to update the data capacity, storage data capacity, and storage or management of the data. Let's call it that. We're definitely going to use building reserves to fund anything for the building department, because that shouldn't be burdened on the taxpayers. And we've got significant funding there, money's there. So we need to take those reserves and consume them appropriately.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any further questions? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? And Mike, I can't see you, so if you need to respond, just speak up, please, okay?
No problem, sir. I have no
Thank
problem.
you. So All right, so not hearing any opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on to our esteemed clerk, Lindsay Green. She has a report here regarding the Grey County Joint Compliance Audit Committee. And that motion is moved by Councillor DeBreen and seconded by Councillor Rice. Clerk Green, have you anything to add to your report?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. I'm not too esteemed today. I'm a bit under the weather this week, so. No, this is, it's legislated. We did this last year where we did a joint committee for the term. So it's pretty much spelled out in the report there. We'll share some advertising costs with Grey Highlands actually in the Herald and the Flushington Advance. So that's helpful. And I would bring back obviously the appointment to council once we find our members. And I think the rest is pretty straightforward, and I'll just take questions if there are any.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. Does anyone have any questions or is there any discussion? Councillor DeBreen.
Through you, and I hope you're feeling better, Lindsay. The beauty of being able to participate hybridly, right? And we're happy that you're here. This is the same, basically the same process and report that would have come to council in 2018 for that election period, and the costs are already budgeted for in that election reserve, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Any further questions, discussion? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No opposition. I will declare that carried. Thank you, Lindsay. And I indeed, as well, I hope you're feeling better. Moving along then to the next report, which is from our Public Works Manager, Jim Ellis. He has actually a couple of reports. The first one here is dealing with the Capital Road Project change recommendations related to some road projects, which will be well received, I'm sure. So this is moved by Councillor Shipston and seconded by Councillor Shearson. Jim, welcome.
Good evening, good people. Yeah, so the toll on the roads this spring breakup has been evaluated, and as the report mentions, 75 is beyond the single surface treatment stage. So the recommendation is to turn it back to gravel. This is also partially maybe some drainage issue that we're trying to resolve with the municipal drain 75 that still hasn't been constructed yet. So hopefully there'll be benefit in the future with better drainage along that road section. But we may have to add, depending on if we pulverize, how the pulverizing go, we may have to put a lift of A gravel to it as well. And obviously calcium, but that'll come out of operations budgets we propose. And then the funds with the reallocation for that section going to road 24 between 07 and side road 57. Some improvements in that area that see a lot of truck traffic as well to the grain elevators. And also to accomplish this, we need to do some asphalt patching, some scratch coats. So we have the information there presented to you. The outcome is that we need to take about another $30,000 that's estimated towards the budget, excuse me, to make it happen. And right now we have stars align that the work can supposedly be taking place in the next 2 to 3 weeks to get a couple of these issues resolved pretty quickly. So.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any questions or discussion? Martin, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Good evening, Jim. With the side road 75, and you just stated there's drainage issues there. There's 3 road crossing culverts. Would you be, when they're replaced, are they going to be the double culverts that Triton usually is putting in now? Because that'll alleviate a lot of the drainage. Is that going to be happening, or what kind of culverts are you putting in? Because that's the good foundation for the road to begin with. So.
Thanks,
Just a
Martin. Go ahead.
question there, Jim. Yep.
Go ahead,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Yeah, from the initial discussions with Burnside Engineering, the engineer for the drain, the culvert sizes are not really changing. These are minimum size culverts, 16, 20 inch diameter culverts. They won't be duals. As far as I know from the plan at this point in time, there's only one culvert that needs elevation change. The other ones will remain at the elevations they are. So minimal impact that way. It's not like doing the big dual culverts we've done in other projects. So we are already carrying a budget for approximately $10,000 to do that other work. That's already included in the budget. So
Okay.
no
Thank
other
you,
strain on this work for that.
Good. Thank
Okay.
you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Any further questions? Just one
so we're gonna
question
put-
I have. Oh, go ahead, Martin, or Mike, go ahead.
I'm just kind of wondering about turning 75 back to gravel. There's no way that we can put more in the budget and put it back?
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, we haven't actually looked at that, but it would take a number of sections as well. I'd say if you wanted to do that type of work, we're probably maybe 200,000 adding to the cost. It's pretty rough. It's got some pretty bad spots in it. And
But
we
to be
can't
clear,
keep
Jim,
that.
But to be clear, Jim, you're talking about taking it back to gravel just for this year, hopefully, and then next year remediating it and repaving it next year. Is that, do I understand that correctly?
That would be the intention, that we would hopefully look towards next year and then go for the full pave on it. We'd probably recommend at least 75 mil of asphalt on it and pave out the shoulders as wide as we can for the sees a lot of buggy traffic as well. So that would be, so that's going to be extra cost of paving. So to just do what to a remediation situation right now, it's not going to do the full plan that we would have to bring. And that'll depend on the drainage works too. If they don't go this year, we may be looking to do that in 24. But we would bring that plan for the next capital budget cycle for sure.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you have anything further? Okay, not hearing anything there. I did see, oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, I just want to make sure that we're not planning on leaving this gravel. I mean, I'm not a fan of gravel when we have pavement. So I know that it's broke up really bad and that we can't keep fixing the potholes, but anyway, we'll go from there.
No, certainly going back to gravel long term is not ideal, but I think in the short term here, I think what Jim's proposing is a good trade-off. Jason, you had a question.
Oh yeah, no, I'm happy to spend some money on the roads. Just wondered on 24 there, Jim, when you said single service treatment, what are we going to do? You said to fill the potholes and that. What's the process there? You fill them in and then go over top, or what? I just kind of wonder.
Jim?
Yeah, so our crews are going to use the hot mix asphalt to try and get ahead of that program for the potholes. But the scratch coat will be done by Murray's, who are our hot mix paving asphalt contractor this year. And that scratch coat will be done for almost, we're presuming about a kilometer west of 61 in one of the worst areas there. And that's a 30 millimeter HL2 lift that goes on prior to the single surface treatment. We initially looked at going out to Gray Road 23, but we thought it was more important to go easterly because there was more bad spots towards the east than towards 23, and trying to keep in a budget range that seemed reasonable. So.
Okay. Anything else, Jason? You all right?
Well, I was just wondering, is it 73? Is it 73? I get them mixed up there. Coming out of Proton Station, that's the stretch that we're going to pave this year.
Jim's nodding his head, so I'm saying yes.
Right, yeah. Oh. Just wondered. No, I just wondered why. Like, I guess that was in the budget, so that no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that was right. Yeah. No, I have nothing further. I'm glad we're going to spend some money on these roads.
Okay, good. Thanks, Jason.
Michael here.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. Or Jim, just a minute, Mike. Jim, did you want to respond to that first, or are you okay?
Just about 73 as well. We put up the construction signs today. We're planning to move in a contractor to get the culvert crossings in place that need replaced along there. And we don't totally have a cold in place date yet when they're moving in, but we're trying to get the project in place that they can roll in and hopefully get on it too sooner than later.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Barb, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Chair Milne. And you actually covered part of the question when I had my hand up earlier. But I just want to say that I appreciate to Jim and his staff the constant evaluation and need to juggle the priorities of our roads and culverts and bridges. And this is a prime example of trying to, move the budget around to make sure that we're addressing the highest needs possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Martin, did you have something else? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a curious question coming from this. Jim, you mentioned when you would do the paving, it would be a 75 mil. Is that the minimum standard, or is that in the middle? And if so, I know with the roads you have that rating 1 to 5, and depending on what rating is, there's works that have to be done. The paving wouldn't affect that workload in any way, would it? Because it would be a better road. Am I asking that question right? It's just, the more improvements we do on the road, does that affect the level and then the intensity of the work to be done on it? Because it seems to be you pay for the roads and a better road, and then that has to be worked on a lot more. So would that come into play, Jim?
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm not 100% if you're confusing class of road to the ride comfort ratings.
I might well be. So as I said,
so class of road doesn't have nothing to do with the condition of the road. The class of roads based on speed, your average traffic count, those type of factors. So
okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Jim. Any other questions or discussion?
Just Michael here again.
Go ahead, Mike.
Back to 75, leading in and out of Dundalk the back way. We replaced those culverts a few years back. So which culverts now need replaced?
Go ahead, Jim.
These are some small diameter. What you've seen was replaced a couple years ago, where the dual culverts up towards the north of 24, S143 or 43 and S126. They're at the north end, and they needed to be dropped down as well to accommodate the drainage works. But those ones are staying where they are. These are just small diameter road cross culverts in those sections.
I just know that road's I just know that road's gonna take quite a beating. That it's gonna need a lot of maintaining to keep it up with potholes and everything else, because the amount of traffic that's on that road is up there.
Yep, that's true. Okay, any further? Jason, go ahead.
Thanks. I just had one question to Jim. For this scratch coating, so if our guys fix the potholes underneath it, the scratch coating, is that I see here for 1 kilometer on 61 is about 60,000. Is that kind of a rough estimate for every road, or is it like, I mean, are pavements a lot of the same thickness, or is that every road's different kind of thing? I don't know if you can add, if you know what I mean. Or...
Yeah. So I maybe missed answering the last question too about the 75 mils. Generally, pavement back in the day and those before we seen these traffic counts go up and the amount of traffic, but the normal paving was usually 50 millimeters. So we've increased some of those roads, like Side Road 15. We put 75 mils on it when we did the Side Road 15 projects. When you get into the urban areas with your servicing underneath and everything, the urban standard's 90 millimeters. So, you know, the provincial highways and that, they're a lot more. They're double that, and the county roads. So we are increasing our level of service that way and the amount of pavement we're putting down. But again, it should last a little bit longer than the 50 millimeters for sure.
Thanks, Jim. Anything else, Jason?
No, I just thought that the 60,000 for the commoner, like to me, if we get it fixed up underneath, then maybe didn't sound too bad. So I just kind of wondered. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead, Jim Frew. You're muted, sir.
It's not good, is
There you
it?
go.
Jim, I imagine all of this asphalt you're putting down is HL3.
Jim?
Yeah.
Not for the scratch coats, HL2 for the scratch coats, but for the cold in place, yes. The extra asphalt that'll be added to the cold in place process will be HL3.
Because the grade of asphalt that's going down means a lot more than the millimeter depth. You can't have one without the other. You've got to explain to them that type of asphalt going down, its load capacity and the depth. 75 millimeter, that'll be a single lift of HL3, I'm sure.
I'm trying to remember, 49, I think we did it in 2 lifts. Maybe we didn't. I'd have to double check.
Oh, that's
because
okay.
We did, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
1
No, that's good. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Martin, go ahead.
Well, just from Councillor Frew's question, what is that HL123? Like, how does that change the composition of the pavement, Jim?
It's different emulsions that are used and the amount of recycled asphalt that's in the content. There's a bunch of factors that make up the HL differences, but it's mostly different emulsions and cement content and the amount of recycled material that are used in the asphalt mixes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Not seeing any opposition, that is carried. Thank you very much, Jim. Your next report is regarding operator/laborer posting recommendation. That is moved by Councillor Shipston and seconded by Councillor DeBreen. Jim, do you have anything to add to that report, please?
We sure do. This has been a tough go to try and find recruitment. Going back to the CBO's report about contract, with a few people that we've had apply and had discussions with, one of the turnoffs was that they didn't want to leave a job that they were maybe in for a contract for 1 year. So we see that that's a real concern when you're looking to recruit good people. So there's no one applying for this job. This department's in a struggle right now. We're struggling with our other operations and snowball effect with operators and having hiring, and that department needs assistance. We're trying to pull from our other departments. That's been a challenge at times too. So When you see delays happening, we're having some driver issues as well with being able to get guys in that seat. And I can also tell, I would hope that we're going to have more candidates apply for this one, being a full-time and the driver operator position. But in discussion with the maintenance gravel starting this week and our calcium provider, they've got lots of trucks, but they don't know when they're getting to us because they don't have drivers. So it's a real issue around the area about truck drivers and getting help. So we're hoping
Yes,
we can
indeed.
get some recruitment this way.
It is a recurring issue in many industries, no doubt about it. Barb, go ahead. And then Martin.
Through you, Jim, I can appreciate this report, and I am supportive. I think with additional overtime, the increased workload, that causes additional stress. That stress can lead to workplace accidents and health risks. So I think hiring full-time, if you can attract those people who've already, got some experience on contracts and looking for a more permanent position, I too am hopeful that there will be more applicants for you to choose from.
Thank you. Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment, and it might go back to the building, like Bev, as far as the contract position there not being a contract position. We're looking at two different types of work areas. There's a gig economy going on now where people in that sphere want to do a contract. There may be techies and all that kind of thing. But when we're looking at the building department and when we're looking at a public works, Jim just said it quite eloquently. Why leave a job that you have for a contract position? So with the building department and this department, it has to be, in my opinion, it shouldn't be contract. It should be say, hey, you work here and you have a position because we're growing. So there is that ethos, I guess, to different working groups. But like I said, building department, the wheels are on the ground. Public works, the wheels are on the ground. You're not in an office where you can work for a year and say, okay, my contract's done, I'm going to another company. Totally different set of rules, and I'm glad this has come forward because it sounds like Jim needs another hand, so I'm all for it. Just a comment.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Martin. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments? Jason, go ahead.
I'm not sure this is to Dave, maybe, or Jim, but as you know, I'm the first one that doesn't want to spend more money on employees, but I understand if we need them, we need them. Okay. I understand everybody's having trouble hiring people. Say at our last hire, do we ever go back and I'm just wondering if we can eliminate some work, I guess. If we had 5 applicants for the last job, do we go back and call one of them, or do we just put it out again? I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Just is it maybe save some time if we need somebody that bad? Is there not somebody in the past applications that we didn't hire that looks pretty good? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Good question. Jim, go ahead.
Well, we did have some applicants that had some waste experience and some very good knowledge with carts and all that education piece, and could have been a real bonus. But some of those problems were that they didn't have a DZ license at the time. They were willing to get it. We were maybe willing to work with them, but that still wasn't getting us a driver to help out during vacation with illness, with other duties. These routes are increasing. This work is not slowing down for the waste department. It is really increasing, like the building department with the homes. Every place has 3 carts in front of it. So, we're going around to these places every week. We may have to consider here soon another either full-time. Right now we're breaking up our routes that we can cover off with half-day coverage with the second truck. We may be at a point here soon with the newer developments that we're going to have 2 days or 3 days of full operations of two operators driving all the time. We already put 3 trucks in on Wednesdays to Flato just to try and knock it off quick. So this is a changing department with the growth, and it's not going to slow down at this point either. We need help.
That sounds urgent. Anyway, any further questions or discussion? Okay, not hearing any. I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much, Jim, for your reports, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Moving on then to our CAO, Dave Milner. He has at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 reports. First one being the Dundalk Old Town Hall, Team Town Hall, and JCI partnership agreements. So that one is moved by Councillor DeBreen, seconded by Councillor Shearson. Welcome, Dave. I don't think I've said that to you yet, but welcome, and over to you.
So I'm not going to say a whole lot other than to celebrate that we've got these 2 agreements before you tonight and in their final form. We did make a couple minor changes to the Team Town Hall agreement in the addendum, but they are ready to go as presented for approval by resolution and approval by individual bylaw for each of the documents.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, oh, Jason, go ahead.
I guess, could you highlight just briefly, Dave, some of the little changes, or?
Yes, absolutely. Not that much? Let me just get the amendment. So I'll go to the Team Town Hall agreement changes, because most of the changes in one were reflected in the other. The changes in the Team Town Hall agreement in relation to the most recent changes with the addendum were on page 2 of the report, or of the agreement. Section 1, there was an insertion of an "and" in brackets and a "that" in brackets. Those were removed. We thought they were legal terms that one of the lawyers threw in, but they have been deleted. And then there was a request to put in point number 2 on page 2, the anticipated building use commitments. They wanted that word added, so that's been changed. Any of the other changes that are reflected in the amended document, which is attached to my report. The bylaw is a clean version. They were all previous changes that were reported on at previous meetings.
Okay.
Okay, no, I just wondered if there was anything made. I read it, but it's a lot of reading.
It is a lot of reading, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jason, and thank you, Dave. Martin, you had a question? Martin, you are muted, sir.
Yes, I apologize.
$50 will fix it.
I will put that into some cultural thing, maybe with town hall. I don't know.
Okay.
It's so good after all the years of seeing this that it's not just the municipality, the comment first, not just the municipality taking over, but there's actually partners coming in to get things going. But I do have a question, just a simple question to you, Dave. And on page 64, item 7, process, in 7.1, it says the billing to be made available to GCI, and then in brackets, and possibly other cultural use partners and facility user. The cultural use partners, would they have to go through this process of getting agreements, or is that just something that they come in? No?
No,
Okay.
No, not at all. Those would be other partners like Dundalk Little Theater or other groups that JCI or Team Town Hall because it's in both agreements, I believe,
Yep.
would recruit these people to use the facility or rent the facility. And ultimately, we talk about the Old Town Hall Cultural Board of Management. I mean, that will be the next step after we get this all done, is to create a board of management to manage it on behalf of the partners and the township.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just looked at the word partners there, Dave, and partners is a little bit stronger word. So I thank you for that. That's good to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Anyone else?
Yep. No worries.
Barb, go ahead. Oh, Barb, go ahead.
Through you, Chair Milne, and more of a comment to Dave and to the community partners who have stuck it out this long. Thank you for your persistence, Dave. It's been quite a lot of negotiating and writing and to get it to this stage. So still haven't got to the finish line, but we're getting very close. We're around the bend. Thank you, Dave.
Yep, you're welcome. We've played more games than the Maple Leafs have, I would say, on this one.
Yeah, but the difference is we're winning.
You're making it to the playoffs.
We're going to get past the first round. Oh, anyway, that's a whole nother story. Thank you for that question. Jason, go ahead.
I just had one more. Like I said, I have read through this, and then to me, it's just boom looking at me. But once again, with these groups, if they don't live up to their commitment, and maybe I missed in here, what happens then? Just in a simple answer, I guess.
So to put it very simply, these are just goodwill agreements. We've got something on paper and we know what they're going to do and we know what we're expected to do. If they falter because of, in 5 years or whatever, because their membership falls off, we have the ability to, basically say, maybe it's time for a change and we'll find another community group but we're not anticipating that. These are just relationship documents to, good documentation or good, relationships are built on agreements. And this is a relationship, but there's not a lot of teeth behind holding people accountable. I think, they just want to do good work as a cultural group, and both JCI and Team Town Hall to make this work and work together with the township and the building owner of the future.
Thank you, Dave. Anything else, Jason? You're good? Martin, go ahead.
I'm just going to make a comment here. I'm going to stick my neck out. The two partners are community groups, and they're trying to do the best for the community. If they fail in the 5-year term of the agreement, it's not because it'll be them. It'll be the community that they're trying to reach out to. So we have to give them the 5 years. We have to give them the 10 years. So again, I'm just so glad this is finally getting off the ground, and it's good to see. I think I've said it many times. The restoration of the old town hall fulfills 3 of the community development action plan. It covers 3 of them: economic development, recreation, and building the downtown core. If you can cover 3 items in a community action plan for the amount of money that's going into this, I think, like as Deputy Mayor Mill said, we're winning in this. So, and it is looking down 20 years down the road too. So I think it will be what it will be. So I'm just glad to see it all done. And thank you again, Dave, for all the work and the staff have put into it.
Well said. Jim Fruit, go ahead.
I can't support this agreement in any way, shape, or form. We have sold the building to the developer here, and he has all the rights to that property. Any dealing that should go on after that should be between the other proponents and the owner of the property, Wellington Investment. people I feel sorry for in this one is the team town hall. They're the people that started this, and they're being left to hang and dry. And I think that the township should back out of this altogether and leave everything in the hands of the three proponents that want to be taking care of it. Team Town Hall, JCI, and the Wellington Investment Corporation. I don't think we should be involved in it at all.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Not seeing it. Jason, you're opposed or you have a question?
No, I'm opposed. I think Jim had his hand up as well.
Okay, so maybe I'll ask the clerk to take the poll on this one, if you wouldn't mind, Lindsay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor
But
Milne.
just before you go there, I'll ask one more time. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay, not seeing any. Go ahead, Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. So a recorded vote called for staff report CAO 2022-023, the Dundalk Old Town Hall, Team Town Hall, and Junction Community Initiative Partner Agreements. Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury is absent. Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Frew?
No.
Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
By a vote of 4-2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So moving along, we have now the two bylaws regarding both the Junction Community Initiatives and Team Town Hall. The first is the Junction Community Initiatives bylaw. So the mover and seconder, mover is Councillor Shipston, the seconder is Councillor Dobreen. Any questions or concerns regarding the bylaw? Not seeing any, I'll ask the clerk to take the poll. Lindsay?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. The recorded vote for bylaw 2022-055, the Junction Community Initiatives Partnership Agreement. Councillor Frew?
No.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor Shipston?
I see a thumbs up from Martin.
Okay, that's a yes from Councillor Shipston. Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
And Mayor Woodbury is absent, so by a vote of 4-2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the next one, which is the Team Town Hall bylaw partnership, or partnership bylaw rather. That is moved by Councillor Dobreen, seconded by Councillor Shearson. Any questions or discussion regarding this bylaw? Not seeing any, I'll ask the clerk to take the poll. Lindsay?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. Recorded vote called for bylaw 2022-056, the Team Town Hall Partnership Agreement for the Old Town Hall. Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes, buddy.
Councillor Frew?
No.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Mayor Woodbury is absent. Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
By a vote of 4-2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to Dave's final report is regarding the Grey County Climate Change Plan Update Report. That is moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Frew. Dave, do you have anything to add to that report? I was almost going to say you're muted, but you stopped.
Yes, I got there. Anyway, I thought it was important after I read the report to bring forward these three documents before council, just to, basically, let council know that the county has declared a climate change emergency, to deepen the county's commitment to these actions. And I think there's some good information in the targets that they're setting for themselves and which are going to be, imposed on here. But I think one of the big things that, it says in the report or in the presentation is that green is the new gray in Grey County. So, I think we need to adhere to, making those changes over time and being part of the solution, because rural Ontario has a lot to contribute. The rural community has a lot of canopy, trees, grass, farmers growing crops that can sequester carbon dioxide. So we have a big role to play, but in the decisions we make, making our decisions, I guess, more green in relation to the types of vehicles we buy, the types of heating systems we put in the future are going to be a big deal.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions or discussion? Martin?
Yeah, I was reading through this and just to comment, with our waste management program, it's been a great program for over the years, and certainly it's certainly been a learning curve for other townships. And going back to Jim's comments on needing another person in the waste management, I think it was on page 179 where we're talking about the township of Southgate. 22.24% of waste diverted from the landfill, like organics. That probably has to be at least 12 or 20% higher than the Ontario average. So, Jim needs another guy to run the programs that we have, and we're doing a darn good job of being green even before this came out, obviously. So it was good to read that. Just a comment.
Thanks, Martin. It's just another example of Southgate being ahead of the curve. Dave, go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think that Martin is right. I think if we could have everybody in the township read that, I think you'd puff your chest a little bit. It's on page 14 of the larger report, that version 1 development standards. And I would suggest that if they would put it in the BMA report, we might be number 1 in the province in relation to that, because of the good work that the community does to collect compost and get it. That's the big one, the compost and get it out of the waste system.
Yeah.
And the recycles, I mean, we've got such a convenient system, because I remember when we implemented that whole project back in 2003, I headed that up, and there was a lot of upset people over those decisions. And I think we have a heck of a lot of upset people if we went and took it away today. So anyway, the system has definitely arrived when it comes to making our community green. That's a great initiative.
Yeah.
Yep, I think there was 3-4 people upset. So okay, thank you, Dave. Any other questions or discussion regarding this report? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? That, and not seeing any opposition, that is carried. Thank you, Dave, for all your reports and all your hard work there. Moving on, now we have our HR coordinator, Kayla Best. I'm waiting for her to, there she is. Hey, Kayla, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. Barb, question?
Point of personal comfort, could we have a 5-minute break?
Sure. We were just blasting along here in fine shape. The
I
time
know,
kind of got away on me, but yes.
Kayla has a number of reports, and it would be nice to have just a leg stretch.
Absolutely, this would be a good opportunity. It's 7:28. Let's come back at 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What do you think? 5 minutes. Let's come back at 7:35. See you then.
Thank you.
I see everybody must be back except for Dave. Mike, are you there?
You betcha, sir.
Good, thank you. Well, it is 7:35. We might as well get underway again. So, as I said, welcome, Kayla. The motion or the report is regarding federal fund and contribution agreement, and the mover is Councillor Shipston and seconder is Councillor Shearson. So I welcome you, Kayla, and if you have anything to add to the report, by all means, let's hear it, please.
Good evening, everybody. For this report, we've explained what we can in the report. There are still some details that we cannot release at this time. So I would just take questions.
Fair enough. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this report? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No opposition, so I'll declare that carried. So we now have the bylaw regarding the report. That is moved not by me. Who would like to? Oh, Barb, you're moving it?
Certainly, I would like to propose that we defer the bylaw until after we receive the consent closed session item. They're tied together.
I look to Kayla for some direction there. Kayla, what would you suggest we do? Or the clerk?
Yeah, I think I'll look to the clerk.
Go ahead, Lindsay, please.
Sure, through you, Deputy Mayor Milne, we can defer it. That's fine, but just it is in this consent, so we wouldn't obviously discuss it since we're not moving into close, which I know council's aware of that, but if that's the wish, we can defer it until after the closed consent.
I'm in your hands, council. What do you want to do?
Move we defer until after the consent.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need to vote or have a motion on, but I'll say let's defer it. Fine. That's not a problem. Okay, let's do that. We'll defer that until after the closed session. So,
I think you need point of order.
Madam Clerk, I'll go to the clerk first. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor Milne, we will do a formal motion if Barb would move it. We have a seconder
Sure.
to
I
defer it.
was trying to save a little time there, but anyway, all right, that's fine. Moved by Barb that we defer. Is there a seconder? Martin, thank you. Anyone opposed to that motion? Nope, that's carried. So we're deferred until after closed session. Thank you, Barb and Martin. Okay, moving along to Kayla's other report regarding personnel policy updates and work boot and clothing allowance. Those are always very popular topics. That is moved by Councillor Shipston and seconded by Councillor Dubreen. Kayla, what have you got to tell us on that one, please?
Yes, so this has been brought forward by the Personnel Committee, which is a staff committee that we have, and it's been a topic of discussion. We have done some homework on it to see what the average cost of work boots are and have brought forward a proposal to raise the boot allowance for the building department and the bylaw to $200 a year from $130. And in speaking with the fire department, they felt that they wouldn't necessarily need that increase, but they would prefer to have theirs the $260 every other year instead of $130 per year, just so that they could buy one good pair every other year. In addition to that, since we had to update the personnel policy with those details anyways, we had some housekeeping items that were also updated.
Okay. Any questions or discussion regarding that report from council? Jim Frew, go
Michael
ahead.
here.
Yep, in a minute, Mike. I'll let Jim Frew go first.
Yeah, Kayla, there's a number of grades of work boots. If they're going to be on a construction site, it has to be a green patch, which has a full blade in the boot. Whereas the brown patch have got a shank in there. So I think you should identify the grade of work boot.
Kayla?
Yes, I believe when we did our research, we did look at the green patch. And I believe it's in the personnel policy too, that they must buy the green patch boots.
Makes sense.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Jim. Thank you, Kayla. Someone else had their hand up. Did they or no?
Michael.
Michael, yes, thank you. Sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Yep.
I just want to make sure it's the same as the guys on the outside crew, that they're getting the same amount a year as the building department.
Kayla?
Yes, so we did review that. Currently, the Public Works Department full-time staff receive $260 a year. So it is a little bit more, but that is because it also covers some clothing such as coveralls or gloves.
Okay, Mike. Okay, Jim Frew, go ahead, and then Barb.
Yeah, the Occupational Health and Safety Act simply states that the protective clothing shall be replaced as required. So if somebody's got a pair of boots and they last for 2 years or 3 years, there's no need to replace them. But if they're doing a type of job that they get worn out quickly, let's say in 6 months, if they turn them in, they're entitled to a new pair. I can't understand why we have this policy of an allowance each year.
Kayla?
So it's my understanding that it is part of so we're providing an allowance, and how people use that allowance for the work safety boots is kind of up to them. It's part of it could be part of the employee's expense too, depending on, what kind of boots they're buying. The higher quality ones last longer. I'm not sure. This is something that we have reviewed to make sure that we're providing enough for one pair per year, and nobody's really brought any concerns forward that they needed more than that.
Well, just to let you know that there is nothing in the Health and Safety Act that says that they must get an allowance and buy their own boots. It's safety equipment that has to be supplied by the municipality.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
I understand that this is a policy that the township has put in place. And they do have the right to do that as long as it doesn't interfere with the Occupational Health and Safety Act.
Yep, true enough. We want to keep our people safe for sure. Did someone else have a question? Oh, Barb. Yes, sorry. Barb, go ahead.
Through you. Kayla, you mentioned that the Public Works Department, they have an allocation for gloves and other clothing allowance. But doesn't the building department have building department shirts? Are they supplied by the township? Is that not part of their clothing allowance? How does that work?
I believe that's covered under the building department budget.
And obviously any expense, any allocation in this policy for the building department is not a taxation funded expense. I'm just, because you're talking about clothing allowance, would it not make sense to, have that outlined? Maybe Bev, maybe typing in there, I'm not sure.
Bev, you want to respond to that, please?
I just wanted to say, yes, the building department does have it in their budget to cover their clothing, like shirts, jackets, somewhat jackets. I haven't purchased enough jackets, but we find that to be more of a uniform so that we're identifiable out in the public rather than safety wear.
Okay, thank you, Bev. Thank you, Barb, for the question. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, Kayla, when you looked around at different municipalities to get different quotes from shops and what have you, this is not affected by cost of living allowance. It's just a straight figure from surrounding shops. Like, goodness knows if a person doesn't need boots in 2 years, like, that's not going to be applied. Cost of living.
Kayla?
No, yes. Currently, the cost of living is not included. This
Good.
isn't something that's affected by the cost of living, no.
Okay.
It's flat rate.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Any other questions or discussion? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you, Kayla. We now have the bylaw regarding adoption of the policy number 1, which is the personnel policy. That is moved by Councillor Frew, seconded by Councillor Rice. Kayla, do you have anything to add to that one? She says no. Any question or discussion regarding the bylaw? Not seeing any, I'll ask the clerk to take the poll. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. Recorded vote for bylaw 2022-073 to adopt the personnel policy. Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
Councillor Shearson? Councillor
Are you there, Mike?
Shearson?
I'm here, yeah. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
can
we're
hear
on a
you now.
recorded vote. Recorded vote for the personnel policy bylaw.
Yep. Yes.
That's a yes, okay. Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury is absent by a vote of 6-0. That's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to Kayla's final report, which is regarding the Employee Assistance Program. That is moved by Councillor Shipton, seconded by Councillor Shearson. Kayla, anything to add?
I think the report gives the details that are required. We didn't see an increase in the cost for this year, which is nice when they requoted us. And we did find that there was usage by staff. And yeah, we thought that it would be appropriate that the restart funding pay for another renewal just because it really was COVID that brought this to light. And we believe is a major contributor of why people are using this at this time.
Thank you, Kayla. Any questions or discussion? Not seeing any. Oh, Barb, go ahead.
Through you, Chair Milne, to Kayla, you are proposing that the Employee Assistance Program was only instituted for a one-year pilot, and that you're proposing to extend it, and that it be taken out of the restart funding as opposed to taxation. Well, I guess ultimately one feeds the other. I would like to propose an amendment to add, and that 5 members of council be added after the word staff in the second clause.
Okay, is there a seconder for that amendment? I'll ask a final time. Is there a seconder for that amendment?
Yes.
Not seeing any.
Oh,
sorry, Mike. Was that a yes?
Yeah, it was a yes.
Very good. So we have a seconder. So the motion is on the floor to amend it. And to be clear, Lindsay, could you please read the motion so as proposed to be amended, please, just so we're clear.
Yep, sure. Let's pull it up here. So the amendment is to add 5 council members. So it would read, be it resolved that council receive staff report HR 2022-023 for information, and that council approve the employee assistance program as a benefit for all full-time and part-time staff and 5 members of council, and that council approve using the COVID-19 safe restart funding to support this program for another year.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Barb, I presume by amending it to the 5 councilors, you're meaning not the mayor and the deputy mayor, because those positions are already covered by this program through the county. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Any questions or discussion regarding the amendment? Okay, not hearing any questions. I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the amendment? Perhaps I'll ask the clerk to take the poll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. For a recorded vote called on the amendment, which is to add 5 council members to the assistance program. Mayor Woodbury is absent. Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Green?
In favor?
Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Councillor Shipston?
I'm going to abstain from this. Is that
Madam
a
Clerk,
no vote?
it essentially becomes a no vote.
That's correct,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That carries.
Only because I'm speaking, yeah, I don't.
Point of order.
Okay. That's fine. No, go ahead, Barb. What's your point?
A vote shall be taken without comment.
Yep. That's right. I was going to stop Councillor Shipston there, but I just wanted to get a little clarity around what he was. Anyway, the vote has been taken and it has carried. So we are now back to the amended motion, or the original motion as amended. Is there any further questions or discussion regarding the amended motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Not any opposition, so I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much. Kayla, that concludes your reports. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Moving on to Planner Clinton Stradwick. Always a pleasure to see a fellow Leaf fan on the screen, as brutal as that is. Nonetheless, welcome, Clinton. Your first report is regarding a zoning bylaw amendment for Alan Martin. That is C4-22. That is moved by Councillor Shearson, seconded by Councillor Frew. Clinton, do you have anything to add to that report?
It's a bit of a complex situation in the sense that there's already a shop up and operating there. It's just that he wants to turn some of his outside storage into inside storage because he's got a metalworking facility, and in doing that, he wants to put it in a different location. And when he did that, it moved it outside of the zoning envelope. So then that further triggered a zoning. So it was sort of like one thing after another that triggered this. And then we had some issues with the county where they were initially concerned about the size requirements. However, when they spoke with him, he adjusted it, and then they said they were satisfied with the changes that he had made. So that being said, the other thing we did is, I believe in this one, we removed the requirement to limit it to 5 employees because we've stopped doing that now based on a previous council decision. And so he has pretty well the same zoning with a couple minor exceptions for use of the indoor storage, etc.
Very good. Thank you, Clinton. And I have to admit, I have never heard a planner say it's complicated, except for every report they bring forward. Any questions or concerns or discussion regarding Clinton's report? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No opposition. That is carried. Thank you very much. We now move on to the bylaw to enshrine the zoning bylaw amendment. That is moved by Councillor Frew, seconded by Councillor Shipston. Any questions or discussion regarding the bylaw? Not seeing anyone, I'll ask the clerk to take the poll. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. Recorded vote called on bylaw 2022-068, the zoning bylaw amendment for Alan Martin. Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury is absent by a vote of 6-0. That's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Clint. I believe that's the extent of your reports this evening. Wow. That's efficiency. Thank you. So moving along, there is, wait, I threw that sheet away before I was done with it. Right, we have no further bylaws or motions. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Yeah, I see that's correct. I hope so.
Just the deferred one after the closed consent item.
Correct, exactly. Don't let me, well, you won't let me forget that because I will forget that. Moving on to notice of motion, Councillor Dobreen has a notice of motion regarding the land acknowledgement rotation. That is moved by Councillor Dobreen. Do we need, yes, we do. We need a seconder. That is seconded by Councillor Shipston. Thank you. Councillor Dobreen, I'll let you speak to your notice of motion, please.
Thank you. The notice of motion indicates that or my comments in my notice of motion, should I be reading the notice of motion, Chair Milne, or is it sufficient that it was on the agenda?
I think it's okay, unless anyone feels they want it read.
It's on the agenda.
Yep.
I've noticed that at the Conservation Authority, a few of them, and at a number of other municipalities, that they rotate through the members the reading of the land acknowledgement. Realizing that not everyone may want to, my original motion was that we consider a volunteer, if anyone wishes to volunteer. I did speak with Mayor Woodbury this afternoon, and he indicated he didn't believe there was anything in the policy prohibiting the anyone who wishes to volunteer to read the land acknowledgement. And I indicated to Mayor Woodbury that I would ask the clerk tonight if there was any such restrictions in that regard in the policy. So as opposed to insisting or requiring that all members read the land acknowledgement, depending on the conversation and the flavor for the motion, there is the option that we could just simply volunteer.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Not seeing any. Any final comments, Barb? Oh, Martin, you have a question? Go ahead.
No, just a comment to everyone. You know, the land acknowledgement that the mayor reads, John, is 3 or 4 different peoples in the area, and it has to get read one way or the other. And I think this could be an olive branch to the different native councils around here that, yeah, you know, even if you don't agree with it, you're elected official. It's part of your job to recognize all your constituents. So I have no problem with this. I think it's all very well and good. And yeah, do it alphabetically. That's fine. Fine by me.
Okay, thank you, Martin. And I don't think we're not going to compel anybody to read it if they don't wish to. It simply gives everyone the opportunity to read it if they so wish. Jason, you have a question. Go ahead.
I like the idea of the voluntary thing. It won't be politically correct what I'm going to say. I voted against this at the time. Some municipalities aren't doing it. I'm not putting them down or nothing, but we've taken away O Canada. We've taken away the Lord's Prayer. I just feel like it should be totally neutral. So I, for one, would like to be it voluntary because I would not like to participate. That's my view, and that's my opinion. So I don't know. I just think I understand it's a touchy subject. I said that at the time, but to me, we want to be inclusive and everything, but we're only doing it with one group here. We have veterans that fought for this country. We have, like I said, the Lord's Prayer and O Canada and everything else taken out. So I should be doing it. Sorry, and some municipalities aren't, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jason, and that's a valid opinion. But like I said, there's nothing in this that would compel a councillor to say the land acknowledgement. It simply gives them the opportunity to say it if they so wish. Final comments from you, Barb. It's your notice of motion. I'll give you the final opportunity to speak to it.
Thank you. And to Councillor Rice's point, I would love to see us play O Canada at the beginning of our meetings as they do at the county. It's I find it very patriotic, but that's another motion. So through you to the clerk, should we indicate that it's voluntary, on a rotational basis? How
Lindsay?
would you prefer that, Lindsay?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor Milne, Councillor Dobreen, I was just wondering if we just do a friendly amendment to take out, I think you had it, let me see what it says exactly, but just to add somewhere in there on a volunteer capacity. I wrote it up.
If I may, would it? Go ahead, Chair Milne.
Well, I was just going to suggest if you just wanted to put the word voluntary ahead of rotational, on a voluntary rotational basis.
That's what I was thinking,
then,
yeah.
then it's, you know, it's your turn, but if you don't want to do it, it moves on to the next one. Simple as that. Is that, is that okay for a friendly amendment, Barb?
Absolutely. That was where I was going to suggest we park that. And also, would this be something that as part of the, if we continue in the virtual world, but in advance of the meeting so that we know who whose turn it is, so that we can be adequately prepared to have the land acknowledgement in front of us. It would be something as if like the movers and seconders sheet that you do, Lindsay, now, it would be something that you would prepare in advance and just check with the member in advance.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
okay?
I'm
okay with that. I'm okay with adding on a voluntary rotational basis.
Okay, Jason, I see your hand up.
No, I was just thinking, that's fine. If it's going to be volunteer, I was just thinking since we're late in this term, maybe the next council, you know, wouldn't want this, but if it's going to be voluntary, that's fine.
Okay, good. Martin, did you have another comment? Or are you good?
Yeah, and with meetings, there could be a last minute meeting if it's voluntary that anybody can do it. There might be a council member that said, yes, it's my turn, but then for some reason might not be able to show up. So it'll revert back to the mayor or you, Brian, the deputy mayor or whatever. So voluntary is a good thing. It covers a whole sphere of different situations for each council member. Yep. So voluntary is good. Yep.
Dave, I see you have your hand up. You have a point?
Yeah, I think for simplicity, I think the clerk should know who the person would be and advise them that that's their turn. They make a decision if they want to say it or they revert it back to the chair of the meeting rather than going around and figuring out, like, for efficiency of the meeting, I think it would be best just to volunteer makes a decision or reverts it back to the chair for that meeting. That's just my.
I think the key point here is it's voluntary.
But
everyone gets everybody gets the opportunity. Okay, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? No opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Barb. Moving on to regular business consent agenda. There are 3 items there. Couple council or conference reports and a CEO report from the library. So that motion is moved by Councillor Schiffson, seconded by Councillor Shearson. Any questions or discussion regarding those items of consent? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? No opposition, I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the correspondence consent agenda. That is moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Frew. There are a number of items on that list. Anyone have any questions or discussion regarding any of those items? Barb, go ahead.
Thank you.
Or does anyone, sorry, I should be asking, does anybody want any of those removed from the consent agenda? No. Okay. So Barb, you have some comments on one or more?
Just 2. One, 12.2.3, the MRNNF, regulation changes under the Aggregate Resources Act. It talks about the soil management and excess soil quality standards. And I just wanted to clarify through perhaps Bev or Dave, this is just for soil management and excess soil on an aggregate lands site, or does this affect our fill bylaw that might be importing soil from an aggregate site?
I think Jim might be the best on that one.
Oh, okay. Jim Ellis?
Jim Ellis on the line. There he is. There he is.
I would need a bit more further review with it. I've heard some gray areas, so I'm I'm not sure where they're heading right now. So even though there's direction, but
Well, as long as it's on your radar, that's. And my other question was regarding 12.2.4. Through you, the AMO delegation request form. It's due by June 24th. Will we be seeing something, Dave? Will you be bringing something to the June meeting?
Well, at this point, we're putting it on there for, discussion if there's interest. I'm not sure what, our issue would be unless we take another run at the education piece with the new government. Again, this is just kind of putting the discussion out there to seek feedback from council on, burning issues that we maybe should be delegating on at AMO.
Through you, Chair Milne, to Dave. The one thing that had come up as I was representing the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority at the Conservation Ontario meeting, they were, with all of the changes to the Conservation Act and the new requirements for asset management, park and lands management, all of those other requirements that are coming down that are going to ultimately financially impact the municipalities, the member municipalities in the watershed. The question was raised that the municipalities have received modernization funds, have received safe restart funds, have received other funding from the provincial government as a result of and through COVID. But the Conservation Authority has not. And the Conservation Authority cannot delegate at a municipal conference, can't delegate at AMO, for instance. And it was suggested at Conservation Ontario that perhaps municipalities might put a nudge in that with all of these changes and the impact that it will ultimately have on the member municipalities, that the province might want to consider some funding assistance to help them implement these upgrades and changes.
What I would respond back.
Sorry, and Dave, I think the Conservation General Manager is going to be doing a municipality tour and reaching out to CAOs.
Okay.
So there may be more information coming, but I'm just putting it on your radar.
Yep. What I'd suggest is that if that is a concern of the board, I would say they should be reaching out to Grey County and Bruce County to put it to a level that is going to have some impact for us to go talk about, Saugeen Valley's plea, or I think it would be better to be a larger organized chat with the ministry.
That's an excellent suggestion, Dave, and I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we could attend and support, but I think it should be led at a higher level to get the impact. Is there any others?
Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Dave. Any other suggestions for AMO delegations? I'm not sure that the county has indicated what delegations they'll be seeking. Probably be doing that at our next meeting, which is next week. Or Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Brian, to Dave. The education, do you think that's worthwhile bringing up again, especially when FLATO is looking at booking land for schools and the developments? Because it is kind of strange that the school board and the province looks at current levels of development, not what's in the years to come. Would that be a good one to send to AMO for education?
Well, yeah, it very well could be. To speak to it again, we haven't had any response back from the OGRA session we had. the OGRA request, and then we had a meeting after.
Yeah.
I would say we got a bit of a cold response, and that we didn't make I know we didn't make the education budget for build in Dundalk, but I know there's other avenues that I think there's talk of the premier coming back here, and I think maybe we need to bend his ear on that issue. But we could very well take another run at it with the ministry, because I know I've been talking to staff at the Blue Water School Board, and they did not get a great response back from the ministry outcoming of that meeting, but they haven't responded to us.
Yeah. Well, the wheels of bureaucracy grind very slow. So if it's maybe something to get these wheels done, because greased up, because of the development in Dundalk, maybe it should be something to put forth at the meetings. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Martin.
Yep.
Anyone
Yep.
else
No
have any
worries.
thoughts? Any discussion on the other, what was there, three items there, 4, 5, 6, 7 items? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to accepting these items? Seeing none, I'll declare that carried. Thank you very much. Now we have resolutions regarding other municipalities, and there are 2 there, one from Tay Valley and one from Town of Arnprior. Anyone wish either of those to be pulled for further discussion? Not seeing any, so the motion to receive those as information is moved by, not that guy. Let's go with Councillor Frew, and seconded by Councillor DeBreen. Any questions or discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those opposed? Is anyone opposed? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Thank you. Now we have our closed session. Be it resolved, I'll just read it there. Be it resolved that council received the items on the closed session consent agenda dated May 18th. Save and accept items as information and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. So I need a motion. I have Councillor Rice and seconded by Councillor Frew. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, anyone opposed to going into closed session for that item? Not seeing any, I'll declare that carried. So, Lindsay, I had to do a real quick look here to find your email that directed us.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yep, go ahead, please.
We're not going into closed session. It's just on the closed session consent agenda.
Right. So we only need to go into closed session if we want to discuss it.
Correct.
Yes. All right.
So now we need to deal with 9.5.2.
The bylaw, yeah.
Well, we're not quite there yet. Does anybody want to go in closed session to discuss it? No, they do not. So we don't need to go into closed session. Thank you very much. Now we need to go back to the bylaw to deal with the contribution agreement. So, I don't have a mover and seconder listed on this sheet, so I'll ask for a mover and seconder. Jason and Martin, thank you. Anyone want to discuss or have any questions regarding that bylaw?
It's all good.
Not seeing any, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Oh, wait, it's a bylaw, so the clerk gets to do this. Boy, I missed my supper because I'm getting a little discombobulated here, but we're getting close to the end here. Madam Clerk, would you take the poll, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. So recorded vote for 2022-066, the recreation contribution agreement. Councillor DeBreen?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Mayor Woodbury is absent. I guess I shouldn't call for him. Councillor Shearson,
Yes.
Councillor Frew,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Councillor Rice.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. County report. I don't have the mayor here to say, Mayor, you did a great job. Carry on. But what I will do is I'll ask if anybody has any questions regarding the council report that's the website that's listed there. Did anybody go to that? If they have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I don't have anything specific to say regarding county. Other than the most important item actually is the county has now appointed a new clerk. Tara Warder is our new clerk. She has been working in the clerk's department for quite a few years. I think she was hired the year I was warden. No, that's not true. It was before that. I'm not sure when she was hired, but it was back. Anyway, doesn't matter. But anyway, she's our new clerk. We're looking forward to having her lead the council. And excuse me. I don't want to say former clerk because she's not former clerk yet, but Heather Morrison is retiring and she'll be with the county for a couple more meetings, maybe about another month, and then Tara will take over from there. So that's the most important thing that we did, I think, at the last county meeting. So last chance. Any questions on the county? Nope. Good. Members' privilege. Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Nope. I will give, if I could, I'll give a shout out to the Ag Society. They had a great event last Saturday night at the arena. Well attended. Freddie Hale and the group did a great job from what I understand. I didn't stay too late. My shift ended around 10 o'clock. That was just a little before my bedtime, so I headed home. But I'm told that the event wrapped up in good fashion, and it was a great event. So kudos to the Ag Society for bringing everybody back out. I actually heard from a few people that they moved to the community in the last couple of years, and this is the first community event that they'd come to, and they were having a great time. So that's good. Good to see that everybody's getting back into the swing of things. Anything else? Anybody else wants to add? Nope. Good. Okay. Closed meeting. We don't have any. Help me, Madam Clerk. Item 15 says no closed meeting, and then 15.1 it says closed session consent agenda. What's going on there, Madam Clerk, please?
Sure. Deputy Mayor Milne, just actually our system, our eScribe system, I have to put something in there so that the council members can view the closed session agenda. So it just has to go under there, but I labeled it with the consent agenda number. So it is confusing though, I will say that. But there is no closed meeting.
Trickery from the clerk's department. I love it. Just enough to screw the deputy mayor up. All right.
Keeping you on your toes.
That's good. Yeah, so to speak. Confirming bylaw. That is moved by Councillor Shipston, seconded by Councillor Shearson. Anybody have any discussion or objection to taking the poll on that? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk, please take the poll.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. Recorded vote called on the confirming bylaw. Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That was Councillor Shipston.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Woodbury is absent. Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen?
In favor?
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, that's carried.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And because we have completed our agenda, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Have a good night,
For your
everyone.
attendance. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance. That way that the deputy mayor can still adjourn the meeting.
There you go.
Good night, all.
Continuity.
Thank you.
Good
You
night,
bet. Take care.
everyone.
Good
God
night.
bless.